Cool. So now that Active Directory is installed, we want to log in with our domain credentials. So what that means is now we're not logging on as just some random user. We're actually logging into a specific domain. So if I double click Kudu Europe, I'll then just go over here and I'll go use a different account. So that Justin Trollope that I'd logged in with, that's literally on the local box. So that's a use on the local box. There's no kind of administrative features or any of the fancy bells and whistles that a domain provides. So I'm going to use a different account and I'm going to type in my domain. I'm going to use /. Now you can see the domain has changed to Kudu. I'm going to type in my name and my password. I'm going to say remember me and I'm going to go cap. Again, now it's asking me this again because this is a different username. So in the server world, it's looking at the first logon that I created as a completely different login to the second one that I created. So I'm going to go yeah, don't ask me again, and I'm going to go yeah. Cool, and now I've logged in, and now I'm actually on the domain. If I actually push the Windows button and say Control X or Windows X, and then go to System, I can see there's my domain, kudu.net, all sorts of stuff. So what I like to do, once I've done this step, is I like to check to make sure I can still log into SQL, just to make sure that SQL server has created a new login for the newly created domain user. So I push Windows Q, and that brings up the search thing. So quite a cool little shortcut. And I type SQL server, and I just say M. And there you go. That'll bring up the management studio. So I click that. Oh, and just bear with me with the kind of small text size. I'm using a Surface, Surface Book, and it's don't be fooled. It's the coolest computer I've ever used by a long stretch. But unfortunately, some of the older software hasn't been designed for high definition DPI screens. So therefore, you get this kind of rubbish-looking mini text. Ultimately, software will catch up, but it can be a little frustrating. So there you can see, check my username is Kudu Justin Trollope. If I go connect, I come through, boom. So SQL's working, that's awesome. So the cool thing about installing a VM from an image within Azure is it comes pre-installed with SQL. So you've got all of this awesomeness of SQL, right? And the cool thing is you're not having to pay a licensing, you don't have to go through some vendor and that horrible procurement process that Microsoft software sometimes entails. You got it. You pay one amount and all the stuff's included. For me, it's a cool. I think Microsoft's been really smart. I think it's a cool way to do it. Okay, so now you've got it, right? Now you got your domain controller, you got SQL. Now you really begin with some craziness, right? So now you really got to plan this quite clever. So I'm going to draw a picture of all of the different components, and then I'll show you why I'm installing it in a certain order. So let's just minimize this, and then we'll open up a Paint so I can draw some pictures for you. Okay, so let me draw a picture in OneNote, right? So let's just create an extra thing here, and I'm just not even gonna name it, right? So what we want to do really is we've got our domain controller. So let's call that domain controller. Now we've got SQL. Okay. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna have AX running. So what AX, I mean, it's a bit confusing, right? Because you hear all these terms, AX, AOS, all of this stuff, management reporter, MRP, all of these wonderful, but I'll hopefully try to simplify that, right? So the AOS is actually a Windows server that basically communicates between SQL, and SQL has two databases. So we've got the actual data, so that's like master data and transactional data, right? And over here, we've got the code. So I think, don't hold me to it, but I think AX 2012 RTM had the database in one, or both of those two separate databases, the code and the master and trance, in one database. Then they split it up into two. I think it was with R2, which was a very good decision on their behalf. So you'll see in your database, you'll have a Microsoft Dynamics AX database, which we'll see later. And then you have one over here with code, which is called model store. And that'll be all the code, right? So what happens is the AOS pulls the code from the database and then updates the data according to the business logic in the code. Okay, so if that's a bit confusing, you ain't seen nothing yet. There's even more craziness coming. So then what you got is you got Enterprise Portal. Okay. This is based on SharePoint 2013 SP1. Be very careful here. If you just download SP 2013 and you try and install it, you're going to pull your hair out and you're probably going to want to kick someone. It's not great. Make sure you get SharePoint 2013 with SP1. I can't stress enough about that. That's a common issue with people installing AX. Okay, so now Enterprise Portal. What's Enterprise Portal? So basically it's SharePoint. So it's a way of showing and doing functionality within AX via a web browser. Okay, so there you got Enterprise Portal, you got the domain controller, you got your SQL, you got your AOS, and then on top of that you've also got SSRS. You've also got the cubes, which is based on SSAS. Okay, and then you've also got Management Reporter, and you've also got Visual Studio. Okay, so you can see why people struggle with the complexity of AX, right? I mean, it's crazy, right? But ultimately, I mean, Microsoft based it upon their own technology, and you get a lot of functionality from this complexity, but it means installation is a problem. So, what is Management Reporter? Management Reporter is really cool. It can be a pain in the ass to install, but the functionality is rad. Like, it does amazing income statements and balance sheets. Like, if you can get that cracking, your chief financial officer will be loving life. Like, really cool, click through, all web deployed. You can email it to them. So, really nice piece of kit. Difficult to set up though. Okay, SSRS. Sorry, that looks like SSRR. It's actually S. And cubes. That's our reporting suite. Which even there's further complexity now. Microsoft has introduced Power BI just to muddy the waters even further. Let's forget about Power BI for now. SSRS is basically your report. So invoices, purchase orders, any kind of report kind of thing that you want to print to screen, to PDF or email to someone, SSRS will cover that. Cubes is kind of your intelligent reporting, so pivot tables, stuff like that you can then deploy into Excel. Cubes are really good, really worthwhile setting up. And then Visual Studio. So this is where the developers will work. So this is where you're going to write your code. Not in 2012. In 2012, Visual Studio is only used really for SSRS and a few other odds and ends. Most of your code will actually be written on the AOS box over here under, I don't know if they're still calling it Morphex, but it's like it's a development environment attached. So now the reason why I drew all of this wonderful stuff is to really just show you that there's a specific order you need to install this into. So because there's so many components and they're all reliant on some form of shared technology, if you install it in the wrong order, everything breaks. Or it becomes impossible to backtrack and install a component without tweaking registry keys and uninstalling and hours of research. So over time, you'll develop your own kind of best practices and best order. This is mine that I'm going to show you, right? And I mean, it's open to interpretation, it's subjective, and I'm pretty sure it can be improved, like most things in life. But I'm going to show you mine, and these are based upon my personal pitfalls that I've experienced installing AX, I don't know, maybe 100 times, but a lot. I've installed it a lot. So, what I always find is Enterprise Portal is always not always, it can be a pain. So I always install SharePoint first, SharePoint 2013 SP1. I don't install Enterprise Portal, but I install the SharePoint. Okay, then what I do is I install the databases. There's also a client in here. After the databases, I install the AOS and the client. Then what I do is I then make sure when I install the AOS and the client that I'm on the correct cumulative update to take effect of Visual Studio 2013. So here's another confusing thing, right? So AX will work on different versions of Visual Studio. So some of the 2012 suite will only work with Visual Studio 2010. I like Visual Studio 2013, and from I think CU8 you can only use Visual Studio 2013. So when you install the AOS and the client and the databases, to be fair, you have to make sure that you slipstream the cumulative update. So let's retrace our steps. So we install the domain controller. So this is first. SharePoint, not Enterprise Portal, I install second. Then the AOS databases and the client I install third. Okay? But I make sure it's CU8 plus. Okay? Then what I do is I'll install the SSRS and the cubes. This is fourth. Then I'll install Visual Studio fifth and Management Reporter sixth. So this tends to work well with me, except Management Reporter sometimes makes me tear my hair, but that's generally the order I'll install. Oh, sorry. Then I'll come back and install Enterprise Portal over here, which can be either 7 or 6. So ultimately Enterprise Portal is installed on top of SharePoint, and that's why SharePoint gets installed second. So that's kind of my order, that's my roadmap. I would give you a work breakdown structure, but I mean, at the moment, I'm just doing this through my head. But yeah, maybe one day I'll get a work breakdown structure and project, and then I'll attach it to this YouTube video. So yeah, that's pretty much my roadmap. I think that's enough for this episode. I think the next episode, let's go through where to download all of this stuff. So I want to download all of this stuff, keep it in a central directory, so that when I'm doing the installation, I don't have to constantly go back and forth back. Everything's there, I'm organized, I can just go through it as quickly as possible. So that's all for now. I know it's a lot to take in. Again, some people are going to criticize my order. Everyone's different, right? I mean, people use what's good for them. More than happy hearing anyone's recommendations or improvements or anything like that. So yeah, always willing and happy to hear people's comments. So let me know. Okay, cool. Till next time, guys.